I bought these boards over, I built a booth, and I built like a little home studio. So when I started doing that around 2010, then I started having artists come over and pay me for like studio time in the house. So I basically, for the next like 2, 3 years, I converted my entire bedroom into a studio. I didn't even have a bed. I was sleeping on the couch for like 3 years. And that's how dedicated I was. I just wanted to make it, and I was like, there's audio schools that I can go to, but, I wanted to just get my hands on, like, be in the studio, work with artists. And during that time, I actually connected with a few people.
Welcome to the Midi Money Podcast. I don't even know anymore.
Thank you for having me, man.
No, whatever this is, I'm excited to be talking to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, and like I mentioned, if you have anything you want to start off with, I know that there's something that I wanted to talk about, some topics I want to talk about, which is just community building, which I feel is more on the starting point of like everything that you mentioned, like the training and all that stuff. This is more like just building a team, building a community of people that like follow what you do, and basically building super fans that maybe they won't buy your product right away, but that's really what I'm doing. And I actually learned a few things from what you mentioned and a few guys in the mastermind chat, to not underestimate the power of like the freemium things that you put out, kind of like to just attract, an audience, but also organically build a following as well. And that's basically where I'm at right now. I did have a couple of placements already and stuff like that, but I feel like in what I want to accomplish now, it's kind of like going backward a little bit to move forward. You know how they say, take 2 steps back, 1 step forward. And I feel that that's really where I am right now, and why I decided to launch a Twitch channel to build the community. Because before, like, the pandemic and all that, I used to do a lot of events. I used to host beat battles with people like Buddha the Future, Illmind, with the I Standard people, all that stuff, back in the early 2010s and, before COVID. And yeah, just doing a bunch of events here in New York as well. So I feel like right now, like on Twitch is one of the best ways to build a community of followers, to further push your product, your brand, like, what you want to present. I do challenges on here, collaborating with the community as well. So I feel like overall, it's just been a great way to connect and build with people.
Yeah, no, and I can tell you've done that. You've really built this community. And it's really cool to see. And I like how you're embracing some of these new platforms like Twitch. Now, I want to get into all that. But maybe for the sake of my audience that may or may not know as much of your backstory, do you mind giving maybe the quick kind of version of your come up story, so that we kind of know that foundation first, and then we can kind of get into some of the cool stuff you're doing?
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I started making beats around 2005. Originally, actually, I wanted to rap. I was in high school and I wanted to rap, and it definitely was not, I got kicked out of a rap group like in a month, and I was like, okay, this is
Wait,
not for me.
why'd you get kicked out?
They were like, yo, you can't rap, man. So it was
just
pretty fun though. Yeah, it was because I was trash. We did like a high school performance, and it was fun. And I was the guy that, paid for studio time for the group. None of them had jobs.
Damn,
I was like,
and they still kicked you out. You were that bad.
Yeah, they kicked me out. Yeah. So I was 16 years old, working, part-time, going to school and saving up my money to go to the studio. And, they would all, like 5 of them, they would go back to back in the booth. And I'll just be like, okay, well, I'm paying for this. When is it my turn? And then I would go last, and they're like, oh no, time to wrap up. Time's up. So we got to go. And eventually they kicked me out of the group. There was one guy in the group. He was the one that produced for the other guys. And, he was like, yo, like, I think you're good. It's just, I feel like you maybe have a better ear for creating music. So, he kind of just gave me FL Studio. I think it was like FL Studio 3 or 4 at that time. And he just taught me a few things. I was learning how to make beats. He said, do you want to DJ? Do you want to produce for artists and stuff? And I was like, yeah. So, eventually I started producing for a few artists, like fast forward to like 2010. I was actually producing for artists, just like in my home studio. I actually went to Home Depot. I actually sketched out a booth. Like I wanted to build a booth. So I went to Home Depot and purchased like these huge, big, you know, boards of wood. And at the time, I was also, you know, living with my parents. And my mom was like, "What in the world are you doing?" But they were super supportive, you know. So I bought these boards over. I built a booth, and I built like a little home studio. So when I started doing that around 2010, then I started having artists come over and pay me for like studio time in the house. So I basically, for the next like 2, 3 years, I converted my entire bedroom into a studio. I didn't even have a bed. I was sleeping on the couch for like 3 years. And that's how dedicated I was. You know, I just wanted to make it, you know, and I was like, you know, there's audio schools that I can go to, but, you know, I wanted to just get my hands on, like, you know, be in the studio, work with artists. And during that time, I actually connected with a few people, like battle rappers. I don't know if you're familiar with the battle rap scene. There's a rapper by the name of DNA. I think he holds a bunch of different titles. And then there's MC Jin. You know, he was signed to Rough Riders and he worked with Kanye, Wyclef. He came over. You know, he's from Queens and I'm from Queens, New York as well. So it was just a great way to connect with people. You know, especially because they felt comfortable. It was a home setting. And you know, but I still kept it very professional. Everything was clean. Everything looked nice and neat in the studio. And I worked with a few people that came up. You know, there's a few artists that worked in my house that really blew up. Like Young Ma, she recorded in my house. Yeah, who else? There's Day Burger. There's Ani Khan, Gashi. Like a few artists that right now they're blowing up. Like it's amazing to think that, you know, they were here working in my bedroom, and that's really where the story began. And then after that, I guess I started working doing like beat battles and stuff. That's how I met Illmind. And you know, fast forward to at the end of, you know, 2015, 2016, you know, Atlas the Plug and Illmind hit me up. They said, "Hey, do you want to DJ, be a resident DJ at our monthly events?" So I said, "Yeah." Only one problem: I don't DJ. I make beats. And they were just like, "Okay, you have 2 weeks to learn." So yeah,
Okay.
I immediately, you know, just locked in. I bought a turntable. I locked in, and they said, "Okay, you're gonna open up for Illmind at a venue here in New York." So I was like, "All right, cool." This was 2016. I was only DJing for 2 weeks, and I was about to open up for Illmind, and it was super cool. You know, it was a fun experience. It was very well received. You know, the audience really loved it, and then they kept asking me to come back. Illmind said, I want you to open up for me all the time." So eventually, because I did that, the doors opened up, and then they asked me, "Do I want to open up for Just Blaze?" And I said, "Of course, absolutely. That's a legend. That's one of my idols." So I did that. I got on stage. I performed alongside Just Blaze, and then that opened up more doors. I did events with A-Rap Music. I did events with Ski Beats, the Rockweiler, like all these people, like, you know, just legends that I looked up to. Static Selecta, I did an event with as well, which is funny because I had a studio in Brooklyn, and Static Selecta was right down the hallway. And we used to bump into each other all the time. When I forget my key to the studio building, he would be the one to open the door. And I'm just like, what are the chances that like I see this guy every day and now I'm performing on stage with him? And yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much the come up, or the short version. There's a lot of struggle in between, but
Sure.
you know, I put myself through audio school as well. Just a lot of things that went on in the last, you know, 15, 16 years.
Crazy how time flies, man. That's a crazy story. I mean, just there's a lot in there, but I think one of the gems that definitely sticks out to me there is just the willingness to do what needs to be done. You know, like you're saying, when Illmind said, "Hey, will you open for me in a week?" And you're like, "Yeah, I don't even know how to DJ." Maybe that was the first thing you said, but then you said, "Okay, and now I'm going to figure out how to do it, and I'm going to do it really, really, really well."
Yeah.
I think that type of willingness to learn and to roll with, like, "Hey, here's the opportunity that's in front of me. Maybe it's not the one that I was originally looking for, but this is going to lead to the next thing, which is going to lead to Just Blaze, which is going to lead to the next thing, which is going to lead to the next thing. Like that to me is such an important mindset and skill, to be flexible enough to not be stubborn and be like, well, this isn't the main thing I want to do anyway, so I'm just going to, keep trying to do this.
Yeah, I think the most important lesson for me was to break the habit of like being comfortable, like getting out of your comfort zone. I think was huge. And I still remember pretty much the first time I really experienced like a breakthrough. It was something super, super simple as I was afraid to make beats in front of, clients. I was too shy. I was like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I can't play, the sounds that they want while I'm making it, and, sometimes you're pressing the keyboard super, super soft and you're like, I hope no one notices this is the wrong note or whatever it is. So that's like what I was experiencing. And then what made me overcome it also was something super subtle and it might be a little strange as well. One of my friends, he's a performing musician for TDE. He's one of the keyboard players for TDE, and we grew up, together. And he was always a phenomenal jazz pianist. And when I saw one time, I said, how does this guy improvise without being afraid? How does he keep going? I used to go to his live shows and I saw like a moment of hesitation while he was playing. I saw like a very, very slight moment of hesitation in his hands, but then he just went and then it sounded amazing, and that subtle moment just made me realize that, no matter how experienced you are, there's always going to be some type of doubt, some type of fear that is trying to hold you back, but you just have to take that leap, and really, like you just mentioned, it's pretty much just, it might not be the opportunity that you wanted at that moment, but it's the opportunity that you need to take in order to reach that goal. And I do feel like that's pretty much the story of my life. There's a lot of other things that that started off as very small seeds and grew into something larger because I took the chance. I took the chance and I just jumped and did it.
Yeah, no, and man, that whole thing of going through the fear and the anxiety and still doing it, that's a huge part of my story. I think it is for everybody. But I've dealt with anxiety my whole life. It's sometimes really, really, really bad. And even stuff like this, like I have like social anxiety, like just hopping on a stream or whatever, like I still get anxious for this type of stuff. And I've had opportunities to speak on stage in front of thousands of people and I've figured out how to do that. But I still deal with it. You know what I mean? And it's something where I guess there's a couple things. One is that when you want the result bad enough, then even if you're not the person that can do that, right? Like for me, I'm a person who's dealt with such like crippling anxiety that I've been just like, I can't even leave my room, right? So that person can't get on stage in front of 5,000 people and speak. So I actually had to like become a different person, right? Like before that, like you didn't know how to DJ, but you had to become that person. So sometimes it takes that type of leap to be able to do that. And then it's an ongoing thing too, though. Like I also don't want to make it seem so simple, like, oh yeah, I used to deal with anxiety, but now I'm good. Yeah. It's like, no, like honestly, I've been able to do some amazing things and I'm so proud of that. And I still deal with the shit every day too. So it's an ongoing battle,
Yeah. I kind of, I was just talking to a few, like every week we have on my stream, we have, like we call it vibe check. So not only do we share each other's like music, we also check in on each other. And, like we definitely talk a lot about the mental health issues that producers and just creatives in general have to, go through. And I feel like that's part of the game, like having social anxiety is still something that you have to, it's ongoing. Like you said, it's ongoing, but I feel like it also helps you kickstart, like every single time you're like, well, I'm going to try to push that back. I'm going to try to push back that fear. And because it's always there, I know it's not a great thing. But I experience it as well, but like having it there is like a constant reminder to yourself, like, no, you got to push, you got to keep going. Like all the steps that you took to get here. This is the reason why you're doing it. And I actually was talking to someone on the chat before saying that you got to leave footprints for yourself. You got to, like, if I checked last year, last year was a very difficult time. It was, you know, the pandemic. I was dealing with a lot of family stuff. And just looking back on the notes, I used to just write down notes on my phone, on Google Docs, just like ideas and templates for myself, you know, when I was starting to put out packs, or when I sent out email for like, you know, venues that I wanted to reach out to perform. And, you know, I was like, wow, like this guy is a whole different person. Whoever this was that wrote these blueprints for me, it's a whole different guy, you know. And going through the first year of the pandemic and being here now, I look back on it and I'm just like, thank you. Like just saying thank you to myself for, you know, having those footprints, making that blueprint. And I think that that's something everyone should put into practice.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge. It's a lot of times it's those things that at the time are feeling like, man, this is maybe the reason why I'll never be successful, right? Because I do deal with anxiety, let's say, or you know, whatever that thing might be. But then you're forced to kind of deal with it, to come up with a framework, or come up with a strategy, or just get stronger to get through it. And then it kind of becomes like your superpower. It almost becomes the reason that you're successful, or the reason you get those opportunities is actually the thing that you felt like, you know, was the reason you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Which it's hard to think that when you're in the middle of it, like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be a great story in a year. Like, no, it still sucks while you're
Yeah.
while you're in it. But the more you go through it, I think the at least easier, not that it's easy, the easier it becomes to be like, okay, I'm in this experience right now. It sucks, but I trust that, you know, in the big picture of where I'm going, you know, this is
Right.
not going to be the end of me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree 1000%, man.
Yeah,
1000.
man. So let's get into some of the cool stuff you're up to. So we got kind of the background there.
Mm-hmm.
And now I see you're doing like a lot of stuff as far as on the sort of the entrepreneurial side. You know, you've got this whole custom website with all this different stuff going. You've got stuff for an audience of producers. It seems like mostly that's something I'm curious about. And then also artists. You've got beats for sale. You've got packs and loops. You know. So man, where do we start? What was kind of, where did that side of it start for you in your story? Did you start that stuff by selling beats online too, and then that opened you up to sort of the other online entrepreneurial stuff?
Well, actually, I mostly focused on working with artists in the studio. And in New York, you know, there's a ton of studios. So I actually was working at 4 studios at once at one point. And, you know, just working with, as the audio engineer, I was working with bands, I was working with singers, rappers. And as a producer, I was also just building up my catalog of, you know, working with these clients. And that's pretty much where I started. You know, I just wanted to get my foot in the door. I wasn't selling beats online. It was all word of mouth. And even now to this day, like the majority of the stuff that I do is still word of mouth, or recurring clients or referrals and different things like that. So really I started as an audio engineer. I recorded a few really dope artists, and you know, executive produced a few albums. One of my favorite experiences was producing an album that we started here in New York with an artist. Her name is Eunice Music. She does like electronic, tribal-ish, but like also like R&B ballads. Like it's like a mixture of a bunch of stuff, like EDM as well. So we started working on her album here in 2015, and then we wanted to go and get it mixed and mastered in LA. So we flew out there, and we got in touch with some people out there. A couple of friends connected us to, I think they're called Next Level Mastering. They do stuff with Travis Scott, Dr. Dre, a couple of heads out there, and we were getting her album mixed and mastered over there. And I produced the entire thing, and it was just my first experience kind of like executive producing and traveling for music, from New York to LA. And I was just like, wow, like this is what it is. You know, this is what music is all about. So I kind of was focusing on working with one artist at a time at that moment. And it turns out she wanted to continue producing more on the album and mixing and mastering it a little bit further. So we came back to New York, we came up with a plan, and you know, we flew out to Hong Kong and Macau to work on her album. It was the whole album was backed by a label. It's like a multicultural grant that Macau offers for artists and residents over there. So, you know, you have kids that are 20 in their 20s and they're opening up buildings like with a grant, a multicultural grant. They're opening up studios and buildings with, you know, all types of space for creatives. But anyway, so we went to Hong Kong and Macau. I think I was there for about 3 months total working on the album. And when we were done, it was all over the radio. We hit she had a couple of number one singles in Macau. I think the first or second day we released it over there in Macau and Hong Kong, we were at like number 11 on the iTunes charts over there. And the music video that we shot the music video for her single Here. And we won best crossover artist. She won best crossover artist and best crossover music video, you know, United States and Hong Kong and Macau. And it was just a really dope experience. So thank you, man. It was a really dope experience to go from, you know, making these beats and working at home. You know, we actually started most of her album like in her living room. We were just, you know, playing around and coming up with songs, and to you know, have like an international radio hit over there. And it was a really, really dope experience. But, you know, when I came back to the States, it was kind of like, okay, nobody knows who I am. What do I do next? Like, how do I, you know, get my foot in the door? And that's really how like the whole thing with Illmind, and like we just mentioned, every opportunity that came my way that got me closer to that goal. I was like, okay, I experienced what like fame looks like in China. Let me see if I could do that here. And even though I didn't reach that level, you know, the same level that, you know, we saw happen over there, like, you know, radio, TV, people recognized her in the streets. It was really cool. Even though I didn't reach that level of success here in New York, I do feel like doing the events, and also I was coordinating events with a collective of people here. So I used to reach out to artists and say, hey, I'm going to do a show. I'm going to perform as a DJ. Do you want to perform? And we just put together like a bunch of shows. We were doing monthly events here in New York. And we, you know, we started becoming known, like me and my crew. It was about 2-3 years ago, called the Midnight Dreams Collective. The group is dismembered now, but we used to do a lot of events here in New York. And I think in the first year anniversary event that we did, we had Soulection. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Soulection. It's a music collective as well from LA. They do stuff worldwide. We had them there. We had A&Rs take interest, like Columbia, Universal, and Warner came to our events. And it was just growing into something super, super dope, you know, and it was a different way of me viewing what fame and success looked like. You know, I didn't need to be recognized in the street. I didn't need a radio hit. You know, at that moment, like we were talking earlier, these are all little steps that I wanted to take to reach those goals. And, you know, through doing that, we built a community of supporters that came out to every single event. You know, there were times where we had 300, 400 people come to our events and crowd, like pack out a little tiny venue. And it was super fun, man. And those moments, you know, I definitely cherish those moments because I created a fan base using those events and just connecting with people, which later on opened up even more doors. When I stepped into offices with, you know, A&Rs or, you know, any sync licensing company that said, well, like all that music that you're DJing, is it yours? Like, yeah, that's all original. It's my music. And, you know, because people just go out to hang out and chill, like, you know, whatever industry you're in, you're going to go and have a drink somewhere. You're going to go have dinner somewhere. And when they hear my music in these venues, they, you know, immediately like, oh, is that original? And these are like also, again, like little steps that got me to where I wanted to be, simply because I was just being myself and playing music and trying to connect with people.
Nice. Yeah, man. I think that's what it's all about, is just taking those opportunities as they come. So then what about as far as kind of the online, that entrepreneurial side of things? What's like the first thing you sold online?
First thing I sold online, it must have been a beat. I'm pretty sure it was a beat, but I was also offering like my audio engineering services online. I was working at a studio and they had kind of like this, like the website set up where people can select the engineer that they want to work with, and they'll book you that way, depending on your credits and whatever you've done and your experience. And really, I was just selling a service. So once I saw that, that they were doing it that way and most of the time it would be like the senior engineers kind of getting everybody in. I decided to let me just try to do it myself. And on the same website that I have, I don't have it there up right now, but I used to offer engineering services and everything else. If you want me to DJ at your event, that's also like everything was just booked online. But it wasn't a service that I provided, like selling beats online. So that part was totally different. Everything else was I'm just connecting with people in person. That's really how I worked.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
And now you've got this whole, it seems like, ecosystem between sort of like the community here on Twitch, the following on social media everywhere, and then you're doing kind of like the packs and loops and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what's, I guess, how do you kind of balance that with everything else?
It's definitely not easy to balance it, but I feel like since I'm just having fun and I'm trying to double down on everything that I'm doing. So I'm making packs, but I'm doing it live on stream. So I'm gaining fans at the same time. They get to see the process. And then also with all the content that I'm creating, I'm planning to put everything up on YouTube. So every single thing I'm just doubling down on, all the content that I'm creating. The podcast, I stream it live, and then I also splice it up, and then I'm going to put it on Anchor, on all platforms, and on YouTube. I do collaborations on Twitch. I have people send me loops, and I make it fun. I do like 30-minute challenges, 30-minute beat challenges. I'm racing against the clock to make a beat in 30 minutes. And, we all know that, content like that does really well on YouTube. If you say like, guy does trash beat in 30 minutes, or like best beat ever in 30 minutes, fight me, whatever you want to say. It's really, I learned all this from you guys, like you, Busy Work Beats, Curtis King, all you guys, just watching what you guys are doing. And I feel like that's really the space that I'm in right now. And even though I know, time is very limited, but I just keep pushing, man. Like I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I really want to keep, adding more things onto the plate. I want to just keep adding more and more and more onto the plate. And the next thing that I'm trying to conquer, which we didn't talk on it about it yet, but I've been in the music sync licensing world as well. Like I just last year landed something on Netflix and Amazon Prime. It was which actually, funny enough, it started off as a beat that I collaborated with a friend, and we put it up on SoundCloud. It was just for fun. And that track went from just being something on SoundCloud to being on like on a Netflix movie. But even in between that, there was a dance group called the Kinjas, which is a huge international dance group. They were touring with that beat, and they actually shot a choreography music video that went viral. And it was totally unexpected. Like I didn't expect anyone to do that, but yeah, I'm trying, like, now that I know that that's something that I can get my foot into because of the music that I create, the type of music, I definitely want to dive more into that.
Dope. Yeah. So that's interesting though. Basically for me personally, every time I've gotten something licensed for TV and film, and most of the time when I talk to people, it's talking to somebody or getting into a library that, those music directors are looking at. So you actually had a music director who was like just looking through SoundCloud and found that? Is that how that got placed?
Well, I was also working with a publishing house. Like I was selling like albums to a sync licensing library. And so they first purchased the publishing rights to the song. And I just kept working with them for a couple of years. But they also allowed me to put up the track on SoundCloud because I already had it up on there. But funny enough, it wasn't a music, what do you call, like a music director or music supervisor for a film or anything. The Kinjas, the dance group, found the song on SoundCloud. They just heard it. They loved it. And they started touring around the world with it. A lot of people started asking questions about the track. And one of the members of the Kinjas is a film director. So they were shooting a movie that was going to get on Netflix, and one thing led to another. And they were like, hey, do you have more music? And I just kept sending them a bunch of tracks. And, we landed a couple on some Netflix movies.
Dope. Once again, taking the opportunities as they come.
Yeah.
So I want to. So we're on. This is a first for me because we're doing we're doing the Midi Money podcast, but we're streaming it live on
Right.
your Twitch. And so I noticed, like, for example, the Build and Vibe podcast, obviously, you know, when you're streaming, you're doing a lot of live stuff, and it does kind of feel like that's the direction that a lot of these new platforms are going, and or even existing platforms are going towards. And so I'm curious, what do you feel like are the advantages for that? And for other producers who are listening and watching this, you know, including myself, do you recommend going more in that direction? Because for me, so far, the podcast, we record them and we release them. We put them out on YouTube, we put them on Apple Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. Most people, my audience is going to hear this later. What to you are the advantages and disadvantages of the streaming thing?
I mean, it's personally, I feel like it depends on the creator. Like, it depends on what type of content creator you want to be. I feel that pretty much, like I mentioned before, like, because my goal is to like double down on first of all, you know, my time is very limited, so I want to make sure I get as many things down as I can. But also, I feel that you know, creating content takes time. So something like a podcast, which happens organically, I don't think that necessarily it needs to be, you know, pre-recorded and then put up online. I feel that you can capitalize a little more on viewership, on, you know, building a fan base on another platform, even if you do it on YouTube, because you're already posting these up on YouTube. And I feel that everyone else that posts up stuff on YouTube should give it a shot if they don't do live streaming. And I feel like it's just a great way to explore a different side of what you can offer, you know, your audience as well. And because we're living in a time where more people are at home, you know, in front of a screen, it makes a little bit more sense. If you can have something live and they can interact with you, you can offer something very exclusive, like I do on my Build and Vibe podcast. You know, the guests that I have on there, they offer a special gift or a couple of gifts to whoever's in the chat at that very moment, you know, and it creates incentive for someone to be on the chat. And there's a lot of advantages of having a streaming platform, you know, including monetizing as well. Double the monetizing for streaming live and then also posting it up online. You know, there are some do's and don'ts, like multi-streaming. I'm not against it, but I don't suggest it really. Like, you know, people
you're
that
saying like streaming to Twitch and YouTube and
at the same time,
phone out for Instagram live at the same time.
Yeah, I personally don't suggest that, because I feel that every platform has its own form of engagement.
Right.
And you know, what I would suggest is create content for each platform separately still, but try to double down on it. And for example, create micro content. You know, if I'm doing 30-minute challenges here on Twitch, what I always do is I cut it down to 1 minute and I put it up on Instagram, and I still have the full 30 minutes of that collaboration that I did live, and I could put it up on YouTube. And, you know, people get to experience it live. They get to see the full thing uncut on YouTube later. Or I could do a cut version and say, hey, if you ever want to experience the full thing, you got to be on my Twitch. You know, so there's just a lot of different ways that I feel that the direction, like the climate is changing for content creators. And I feel that streaming live is almost like a must at this point.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's definitely, I mean, I love all that. The repurposing is cool, because like we already repurpose our stuff. Like we'll record the podcast, we'll take clips and stuff, but it's almost just adding one more layer before that. Like you stream it live, that's one version, then repurposing another version is just posting the whole thing. Then the content, the clips from that. And something that in the chat, in the Twitch here, Rise Official Music said is there, you know, it gives the audience member community a sense of pride in the fact that they're there with you through your process. And I think that's huge too. You know, it's dope. Like right now we're literally interacting, but there is something about, like, I know, okay, so I've got a similar background to you in some ways, where for that first 10 plus years of my career, I was in the studio. I was mostly engineering, also producing. And so I was in the room with people. And I also, by the way, had that fear of making beats in front of people. I used to hate it. You know, I was like, oh God, this is the time it's going to be trash. But anyways, I say all that to say, when you do make a beat with an artist who's there, like 9 times out of 10, they love it, because they feel like they're a part of the creation of it, and they're like, oh, this is the dopest beat ever, you know what I mean? And they think they produced it, even though you really did all the work. but they have that sense of ownership in it, and pride in it, and they want it that much more. And so I think when you stream, you know, like on Twitch or like on Clubhouse, which I really like as well, is kind of the same idea. You're more invested in it because you are a part of it. Like I just read, you know, I read his quote, you know, his comment, and he is part of the conversation, and so that's going to make everybody feel more involved. So
and I feel like the audience also feels more connected in terms of, like, you know, let's say, for example, if you address somebody, you just said, you know, in my Twitch stream, you shouted out RIZR official music with something that he mentioned, and it just creates a special relationship between you and your viewers, you know, rather than just another person that's out there, you know.
Yeah. Well, man, I guess I got to start streaming the podcast now. I don't know.
Hey, if you need help setting up, man, let me know. I got you.
All right. I might just hit you up. I might do I might lean more towards Clubhouse. Personally,
Clubhouse is dope. Yeah.
I feel like that might fit my vibe, and where I might want to build a audience more, but I'm not sure. Maybe Twitch. I'm not sure.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a little bit more to figure out, I guess, with Clubhouse as far as how to get good audio off of there. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. Have you messed around with it at all? Are you on Clubhouse?
Yeah, I was actually on a panel. Well, one, I was with the mastermind chat on there, but I was also what do you call? I was in with the Twitch, the music A&R for Twitch. They invited me to talk about Twitch on Clubhouse as well. Nice. And yeah, it was really nice, like to see, like, you know, higher tier streamers, and, you know, they've been doing this for a while, and kind of being in the same room and understanding, like, the whole Twitch culture and how the music scene is evolving with content creators on Twitch. I think it's Clubhouse is a very amazing platform to share, like, information, like, on the fly, like, in real time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's a platform where people expect gems. Like if you're on there, you got to bring value. I'm curious in the chat here, I'm curious how many of you guys are on Clubhouse as well, because I wonder how much of it is a crossover, you know, that people are on both, or, you know, maybe it's a different
we're going to be converting some well, the only thing is that only iPhone users can use Clubhouse, unfortunately.
So far. I know they're going to expand it, hopefully sooner than later. They keep saying they will, but eventually I'm sure they will.
Yeah, but we do plan on starting a club for Build and Vibe on Clubhouse eventually. And just continuing the process, man, like pushing the brand, pushing Build and Vibe, pushing the RIZR brand, and just bringing the community along with me, man.
Yeah,
that's for really sure what we're doing.
And it seems like the community, and correct me if I'm wrong, your community is more producers as opposed to artists. Is that fair to say? Or I know you have both. I think you have both.
Yeah, definitely on Twitch. My following is definitely more producer based. On, like, Instagram, there are a ton of artists. I mean, I've been producing artists for a very long time. I have a couple of albums under my belt. I have a bunch of singles out. You know, I can't think of many off the top of my head, but there's the recent one that we just hit. I think it's over 30 million now on TikTok, but an artist that I worked with, he just dropped his album in September or October. And, you know, the song went viral with, like, a funny video that he kept posting up on TikTok. And we got 30 million plus streams on that. So, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So, yeah, outside of Twitch, I would say it's mostly, it's a mixture, but I would say mostly artists outside of Twitch.
Got it. And how much of that is, like, a conscious decision for you, as far as, you know, for me, I did a lot of separation because my initial brand was Legion Beats, and it was, you know, beats, you know, mixing and mastering, all kinds of stuff, but for an audience of artists. And so I was very, I don't want to say nervous, but I was very conscious of, well, now that I'm now expanding to producers as well, and teaching about marketing and business and all this kind of stuff to that audience, do I want to put both out on the same Instagram, email list, YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff? Because I do see a lot of producers do both. Most of them do both on the same channel. You know, most of the guys that we hang out with in that mastermind, like the Busy Works Beats and the, you know, DJ Payne One and Curtis King and Superstar, you know, all those guys, kind of combine them. My decision was kind of to separate them, but the disadvantage is now I've got a split audience where I've got two different Instagrams. I've got two, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the advantage is I can speak more directly to that one audience. So I guess it's just a trade-off. I don't know if you ever considered like splitting those brands or you know, how you thought about that.
I definitely have. Throughout my entire, you know, career from the day that I started, I was always involved in a group. And every time I was the one running like the Facebook pages, every social media page for those other groups. And realizing that, you know, sometimes, yes, the brand can be strong enough where, like, let's say if it represents the entire group and if it's like a collective, let's say, like I mentioned, Midnight Dreams Collective was my group before. You know, it's just for short, we're just going to say MDC. So MDC, I ran the page for MDC and my own as well. And, you know, there were 11 members in Midnight Dreams. And it was tough to, you know, put up content for all 11 members, including myself, plus creating music and working with artists and getting better at DJing and reaching out to venues and closing deals and a bunch of stuff, you know, and making sure that the financials are right and all this stuff, you know, it was a lot to handle. So I think what I started doing after Midnight Dreams, MDC kind of like slowed down after, you know, events no longer were possible. So the group kind of just dismembered. I realized, like, I looked back at all the blueprints that I made for myself with all the groups that I've been in. And I said, this is literally the blueprint that I need for RIZR. This is what I need for me. And what can I tap into? What is it? What's in the goal within reach, first of all, within reach of me already. And it was just like connecting with people. That was my main thing. Everything that I did with the group, it was to make other people look good. And it was to make the product look good. It was to attract people. And it was, like I said, it was just always a way to connect with people. So I said, why not make that a personal thing, a personal brand where I offer the same things. You know, I could come and produce for you. I could DJ for you. I can create, you know, flyers and overlays and graphics and whatever it is that you need. I'm the one that was doing it all anyway, you know, so why separate that? But that's just me, you know. I want to make a personal brand. And actually last week I had a conversation with Maddie Beats and we were talking about branding, and I think it makes it easier depending on what goal you want to achieve. Like in my case, I want to be known as a producer, a streamer, a content creator, an entrepreneur that runs a podcast called Build and Vibe. And it's a community that is on Twitch. It lives on Instagram. It lives on YouTube, whatever other platforms. And I feel that because that's the direction I wanted to go, you know, including like being a DJ that's known for doing like festivals and working with these big artists and stuff. It just all made sense to kind of just put it all together in one and slowly branch out just with one type of content at a time. Like for Build and Vibe, it has its own Instagram, but I'm not really focusing on building that. First, people got to know that this is where Build and Vibe exists. It's me that's running it. I'm the face behind it, and I have a team also as well. You know, there are 2 other people involved in Build and Vibe, but everything is going to come in its time, you know. And I feel that with what I've been doing it, like the way I've been doing it this way, it's easier on me. It feels more organic. It feels real. It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel fake at all either. And people know that I'm passionate about it. The same way that, you know, you're passionate about selling beats online and you want to, you know, cater to the producer community. It shows that you're passionate about those things. I mean, I know that what you're doing works for sure. I know that what you're doing works because everything that we've all heard and we've all seen with our own eyes, you know. But if you're talking about Legion Gabe, you know, pushing the brand a little further, I feel that there's always room for that. The same way that there's always room for me to do something more. If I got into working with, you know, Legion Beats, you know, that's another thing. You know, people are gonna say, whoa, like now he's really catering to the entrepreneur producer. You know, that's another lane.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like it still all makes sense to do it all together.
Yeah, no, I think it just like you said, it depends on the situation and what your goal is. Shout out to Pink Hair Producer, gifted me a sub, by the way.
Ooh,
Um, but they were saying, talking about it was a blessing having artists and producers in one community, talking about something they're working on, and so I do think there can be some magic to that for sure. Which it sounds like is kind of like what you got. But then there's also the other side of it, which there is some magic to where I can get on my Legion Gabe Instagram and be like, and really speak to a producer, you know what I mean? And then I can get on Legion Beats Instagram and really speak to an artist. So I think it's just a trade-off, and it's interesting actually for you that you took the podcast and actually split that off. So not so much necessarily a different audience as far as, artist or producer, but like a different maybe audience or crossover, of course, but like
yeah,
it's just interesting. I think it just depends on your goal. And I think as producers, it comes up all the time of like a lot of producers have both audiences and feeling
yeah,
and figuring out how to deal with it. So I think it just reverse engineering from, okay, here's my goal, here's my intention. Now
yeah.
how can I set that up, the best way
I,
to actually
I
get there?
also, yeah, I also think it's like what we talked about earlier. It's about taking those chances. You would never know. Like if you want to try doing a podcast, you would never know what it's like if you never try. And I mean, I was in a podcast before, which really um, made me want to do a podcast again. I was working at the YouTube space with Atlas the Plug. He was on Blap Chat with Illmind. We launched our podcast and we were doing it full time at the YouTube space. But after everything shut down, but I saw the response that like the audience wanted that. They wanted to see that. So that's another thing. If you don't try, you won't know what the people actually want from you. So that's another thing.
Definitely. You got to put it out there. You got to try stuff, because man, the thing that you think is like, it's like a throwaway, whether if it's, music or a project or whatever, or a podcast,
Yeah,
a lot of times that's the stuff that really takes off. So you don't know till you try it. And sometimes you just got to put it out there, even if you don't think it's perfect yet. That's another big thing too, where so
for
we
sure.
we all get caught up being perfectionists, like, oh, if I'm gonna do a podcast, it's got to be perfect. And it's like, nah, just start, and then it'll get
Just
better.
have fun. Yeah, just have fun.
Yeah, for
Really.
sure. Well, man, I mean, I feel like I could chat all day. We're starting to get to about the length for the podcast normally. Maybe we can start to wrap the podcast. If anybody in the chat has questions, I guess for either of us, for both of us,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
throwing that
guys,
out there.
feel free. Yeah, feel free. Do you have any questions for me or Legion Gabe? Let us know. This is your chance to ask some questions, man. Well, actually, I did want to say something too to the chat. Legion Gabe is going to be on the Build and Vibe podcast very soon. I don't want to shoot any dates. I want you guys to be here. I want you to see when he's on here. But he's also going to offer some very awesome gifts. I don't know if you want to talk about it right now, or
Man,
do you
I
want to
can't
wait?
wait. I'm super excited. I think for the moment, let's just let everybody know to hit that link in the chat to start
Yes.
with that free training, because that'll be like kind of the foundation of everything, and then I'm super excited
Hey guys,
to
hit
be
that
to be on
link.
there.
Hit that link. Check it out. And when we have Legion Gabe back on for Build and Vibe, man, guys, you get just be ready. Be ready to change your life when it comes to producing and selling beats online.
I'm excited. I'm super excited for that. Yeah, let's see if
Oh,
there's any questions. Otherwise, let's see, what do we got in here. Pink Air Producer says, "Did you guys have a good day today?" Okay.
yeah. How was your day, man? How was it sunny out today, or how was it?
Yeah, it's actually really nice here in the Bay Area today. It was like
Nice,
t-shirt weather. It was beautiful.
nice,
Sun was shining.
nice.
That always helps put me in a good mood when it's nice out, when I can, I'm usually kind of locked up inside, of course, in front of my computer like we all are.
Right.
But then when I can at least step out for a few minutes, absorb a little bit of sunshine, that always helps.
That's what's up, man. Well, it's raining over here in New York, but it's like muggy, like those muggy rainy days. So not that great,
Yeah.
but we're all locked in anyway. We're working. But
Uh,
yeah,
at the
man.
produce said you're in the Bay. Yep, I am in fact in the Bay Area in California.
There you go. You got a fellow Bay Area. Here we go.
Oh, okay. The produce, you from the Bay too? Where are you from? Yeah, man. Well, I guess as we wrap up here, maybe for my audience, if you can maybe let people know, for one thing, where to find you, what you're excited about coming up, and anything else you might want to wrap up with.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for having me here on Midi Money. My name is RIZR from Queens, New York, music producer and DJ. The next couple of things that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be, first of all, I'm going to keep pushing on my stream on Twitch. I'm going to be continuing doing my podcast every Friday, Build and Vibe at 5 p.m. Eastern. And, you know, every Sunday I do feedbacks on my Twitch channel. So if you guys want to come in, drop by, send me your tracks, send me your rough ideas, send me your demos. Let's work on some stuff live. Every Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, we do feedback. And also on Wednesdays, we collaborate. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we do collaborations with the community that's here on Twitch. So make sure you tune in and send me your loops. And every time we collaborate and we finish up some tracks, we send it out to artists and we send it out for placement opportunities. Whether it's sync licensing, whether it's a upcoming artist or a major artist, you know, the goal is to build a catalog with everyone in the community so that we can continue to push our music, and hopefully everyone can, you know, make a career and a living out of producing and making music. So that's the goal, really. The next couple of things that I have coming up, I mean, I have some projects that I can't really talk about, but there's an artist that I'm going to be working with, a major artist I'm going to be working with soon. She's an EDM artist, and you know, that's something I'm excited about. I'm going to be producing a couple of things and sending it out. And man, I can't think off the top of my head, but
that's
just
a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. And just creating content, guys. You know, if you want to check me out, I'm going to be posting up a lot of these beat challenges on YouTube. If you don't catch it live on Twitch, so you know, look out for the 30-minute beat challenges of all my trash beats. No, I'm just kidding. It's amazing. There's a lot of fire produced in here with all my guys in here.
No, but I got to listen in on the end of one. There was definitely some heat being made.
Thank you. Maybe there'll be a Legion Gabe and a RIZR collab in there somewhere.
Let's go. I haven't even made a beat in so long, but let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on that I could talk about right now, man.
That is plenty. You stay busy. You're an inspiration to me and many others. Everybody should go check you out. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on my podcast that was on your Twitch stream. That is, I don't even know where we are anymore. Yes, yeah. But it was super dope, and I appreciate you, bro.
Oh, I do want to say one last thing. Every single Friday, I drop a free sample on RIZRmusic.com. So that's one thing that I look forward to every week. I know that all my people, my community are always looking forward to those samples. And there's been so much heat being made from everyone that's been flipping my samples. So much so that, you know, like a lot of these beats that they send me using my loops, they're actually, I'm categorizing those in a higher tier than my own beats, because some of them are so fire that I have to send them out to major artists and movie sync licensing opportunities. So definitely, guys, every Friday, you know, check out my website. RIZRmusic.com is updated weekly with a free sample.
Dope. RIZR Music, RIZR. Check it out.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. Well, thank you for having me, man.
Appreciate it.
Peace.